Hey, what's up, CTK? I'm Graham, and this is your message recap. So over the weekend, of course, happy Father's Day. Hope you had a great time with all the dudes and dads in your life. And guess what? It marked week 3, the final week of this special message series we've been doing titled Family Traditions. And of course, if you've been tracking with us at all, you know that when we talk about family traditions, we're not just talking about goofy dad jokes. We're not talking about holiday celebrations or annual get-togethers with friends and family. When we make reference to family traditions, we are talking about these deep-rooted, very formative patterns and behaviors, broken patterns and behaviors. And see, what happens is when we don't deal with these broken patterns in our lives, oftentimes they don't remain isolated just to us as individuals, but we then model these broken patterns to our own family, to our community, maybe even to our children. Well, there's good news, right? Because as renewed creatures in Jesus Christ, we don't have to walk in these broken patterns anymore. When we look at our broken patterns, we say, I don't want to live there anymore, right? I don't want to get wrapped up into the idols that have been formative in creating these broken patterns in my life. And of course, this Sunday, when we talked about week 3, we looked at Joshua 24 and read about this covenant that was renewed between God and the nation of Israel. And it was a renewal of the covenant that God formed during the leadership of Moses. And the good news for us, church, is that the God that we serve, the God that we witness and read about in the Old Testament, He is still a God of renewal. When we look at our history, we recognize that there's some broken patterns and there's some idols that we've been attached to that have sort of dictated the terms of our relationship with God. Get rid of that stuff. I don't want to walk in these broken patterns anymore. I want to establish new gospel-centered family traditions so that we can be a church that truly excites people with hope and joy in Jesus. I would like to invite you to be part of that. Is printing off one of these family covenants, grabbing them, that we still have some available at the church. These will be available online as well. And simply working through this with your spouse or your children, or even if your children and grandchildren are all across the country, like get on a Zoom call and say, hey, listen, there's some, we want to establish some new patterns of faithfulness in our own family. Like what if we got together once a week and just prayed over our week, over our family, that we would continue to be growing in our knowledge and affection for Jesus. Like, what are these specific patterns, specific practices that you can put into place with your family, with your friends, with your community, in such a way that you guys are growing in Christ, that you are establishing family traditions that are going to be carried on for generation and generation. I mean, how cool would that be if you draw the line in the sand and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to live in these broken patterns anymore. God has called us to walk in newness of life, loving Him and loving our neighbor. So I encourage you to take part of that. And then I encourage you to bring others into this experience, that they would bear witness to what you're committing to, whether that be your pastor or your elder or a friend. Hey, would you come and bear witness to these commitments that I'm making to my family, to my church, to God, that I would be part of ushering in new family traditions, not just for me, but for generations to come.